I've got one more challenge for you. In this lesson, we're going to create a background color changer. So that means that we add a button to our page, and then when the button gets clicked, it's going to change the body background color using what we've learned in the earlier lessons. And we're also going to be using math random in math floor in order to accomplish a random number. And as we know with RGB, there's 0 to 255, so red, green, blue values. And in order to set a random one, we're going to use this random function that's shown over here. So you can pause the video, try this out, and I'll show you the solution coming up. So the first thing we want to do is add a button to our page. And the button that we're going to add, we'll give it a class so that we can select it. And this button will change background color. And I'm actually going to move this up on the page. So just under the H1, refresh. We can see we've got this button added in. So now let's make the button active. So selecting the button, we can use document, query selector, BG, and let's check the element to make sure that we have the correct one. So we do have the correct one. So now we can add an event listener to it. So btn add event listener. Event that we're listening for is a click. And when it gets clicked, then we're going to invoke a function. And for now, the function will just have a value of console log color. So we click it, we see color shows up. Let's open this a little bit bigger, and we're going to quickly go through how math works. So math is a method in JavaScript, and we can use math.random. We return back a value that's 0.97. So every time we run math random, we're going to get a different random number. So it's going to always be 0 decimal place and a number of digits following that. So this is the random number. In order to get a usable number, we need to use math random, and we multiply it by the number that we want to use. So let's try that again, and let's do math random. And this time we're going to multiply it by a value. We can multiply it by 255, or if we want to have 0 to 3, we get a random value anywhere from 0 to 2.99. And if we use math floor, so this is another option with math, it will floor the value to 0. And that's why you typically see this combination where we've got our math random and our math floor is wrapping around it and then multiplying by the value. Let me clear that and type it like this. So we see we get math, and we can return back a different value each time. So it's going to be anywhere from 0, 1, or 2. So it never hits 3 because, remember again, we're doing math floor, which rounds it back down to the nearest full number. So we're moving out the decimal places. So if we wanted a number from 0 to 255, we can multiply it by 255 and we get this math value number. So this is the way that we can get a random color, because the color values can be anywhere from 0 to 255, and we can return back those numbers and use them to generate random values. So let's try that out, and we're going to create a function in order to do that. And we can call this function, call it random. It's going to take in a number. So this is the number that we're going to randomize, and we're returning back math floor. So just as we saw in the example, and then math random, and then taking that math random, we're going to multiply it by whatever the value of num plus 1 is, and we're adding 1 to it. And this will allow us to count for 0, and this is still within the math floor, so it's not going to take the consideration, and it will still floor it. So if we pass in a value of 255, it will be like passing in 256, but it will turn back a number from 0 to 255. And that actually should say function. So let's try that, random, and pass in a parameter. So random 2. So we see we get anywhere from 0 to 2 by doing it within this formula. So now we can pass in that random number, and going back to our add event listener, we need to generate a random color. So my color, and setting RGB with a bracket, and then adding in the random, and we're going 0 to 255, and then comma separate that out. And it's random 255 and random 255. And then we can close the rounded brackets, and that's going to give us a random number, random hex, which we can log out to the console. So every time we press the button, we get a random RGB color, and then we can use that to update the document body object, selecting its style properties, updating its background color, and we can equal the background color to whatever the value of my color is, because this is a string value that we can use to generate the color. So now every time we click it, you see we get different colors for the background. So that's how you can really easily add this type of effect where it updates the background of a particular element, or in this case, the body. So coming up, we're going to look at the event object in JavaScript.